Hello everyone, this is Gary with your cards of the day, and I've gone back to doing a tarot reading for today, and the three decks that I'm using are the Golden Dawn Ritual Magic deck by Chick Cicero. I'm using the Thoth deck by Aleister Crowley, and I'm also using the Intuitive Tarot deck by Cilla Conway. And the first card for today is the King of Swords. Now, it's very interesting the way the kings come up in the Golden Dawn deck, because the kings have a very, in a sense, knightly feel to them in this deck. Because, for one thing, they're mounted on horses, which in some decks they are and in some decks they're not. So there is a feeling of great movement and rapidity in this card today. There does feel, what is coming out strongest to me actually is the purple in these sort of wings that the king seems to have. And this is very much a colour of spirituality, of intuition, and instinct is what's coming to my mind. So it feels like this is more looking at kind of almost making sort of mental leaps, really. It's not so much complete locked down solid logic. It does feel very much like sometimes the mind goes so quickly and can kind of work things out at a rate and a speed that defies normal kind of slower logical thinking. So do be aware of a lot of very rapid ideas flowing around today, a lot of rapid thoughts, and kind of an ability to grab hold of everything and connect the dots together in a way that incorporates not only the mental capacity but also the intuitive abilities as well. And that in itself enables things to move more rapidly than if this was purely a kind of worked out cerebral logical process. And there's just a feeling of things being very, very rapid today on the sort of mental level. So it's worth watching out for that. Now, our second card, interestingly enough, we have the Queen of Swords as well. So we really, really have this thought energy being thrown at us today. And it's interesting because here, the thing that draws me is there's almost a feeling of the Justice card about this depiction of the Queen. She has a sword in one hand, and she has, frankly, what looks like a severed head in the other hand. And this very much feels like almost a variation on, or a corruption of, the Justice card, which has a lady with a sword in one hand and a set of scales in the other. So there could be a lot of very kind of cold clinical thinking around us today, as well. A lot of decision making, and the essence here seems to be very, very careful of our own thinking, to make sure that we're not sort of lopping people's heads off with our thoughts and making decisions that are going to adversely affect other people. But also, there's a feeling here, because of the height that this card is giving me, I'm feeling almost like I'm stood here looking up. So there's a very, very strong feeling here of other people making decisions that could be affecting us today. So just be sensitive to and aware of that as well. There's a lot of that kind of coldness and aloofness about this particular card, which I think, is something to be wary of today in the reactions of other people. In particular, I would suggest people in authority, bosses, line managers and work colleagues, that kind of thing. So it's worth being aware of that and worth watching out for it. So it is interesting to have got the King and the Queen. Now, this kind of supports that whole essence, really, because our third card is the Tower. And I can almost hear in my mind a lot of people looking at this and going, oh, great, the Tower's turned up. Because what we have here is the sort of the archetypal ringing the changes. Something coming in that is so left field, so powerful, so potentially destructive, but equally so it clears everything out. So be prepared for things to get shaken up a bit today, for the status quo perhaps to get shaken up, and for it ultimately to be replaced with something better. But there has to be that that shake up first before we can then kind of have what comes after it. So this also gives me a feeling as well of, because there's a very strong fire element here, it's almost like it's giving me a wands kind of feel, almost like sparks of inspiration. So there may be suggestions and ideas coming in that are completely left field, but are completely at odds with what you'd normally expect or what you'd normally think of. So do be aware of that possibility as well today. So if we just do a quick recap. Very interesting today. We have the King and we have the Queen of Swords. The King feels very much like us ourselves, being very intuitive, very quick-witted, very insightful of mind, and in a position where we're able to react to things, we're able to work around things, really being very rapid of thought, and as I say, very quick thinking. And thoughts, of course, because this is in a sense a king on a horse, thoughts turning into actions. So we may find that we're thinking of things and we're actioning them almost immediately, but always with that intuitive sense, the purple that I picked up. Now we then have the Queen, who today is coming across in this deck as being very aloof, very powerful, upper echelon, kind of a power figure, an authority figure, someone in a metaphorical sense with the sort of power of life and death in her hands, metaphorically speaking, somebody who makes the sort of big decisions and can be quite dispassionate and aloof and even cruel about it. So be aware of people around you like that today. Be aware of decisions that are being made and how they might well affect you. And also we have the Tower, which is perhaps relating to the decisions themselves. We have that real sort of shaking things up, destroying the status quo, moving things around so that ultimately they get better. But there has to be that little bit of a shake-up first before we get there. So I hope you've enjoyed these cards of the day and this tarot look at the energies around us. As always, please feel free to leave me some comments and let me know how these themes interact with your day today. With this King and Queen of Swords coming up, it'll be very interesting to hear. Please also feel free to check out my website, www.theseerscave.webs.com, for more information about myself, my tools, and the readings that I offer. I want to wish everyone a really happy, thought-provoking, insightful, and interesting day today, whatever you do. and wish love, light, blessings, and frith to you all.